going on, world? It's your boy at Big Game James _36, and this is Big Game James BS, brought to you by Dim Media Group, presented by thehumidor.com. Thehumidor.com is a go-to website for all your cigars, sticks, whatever you need, torches, cutters, all of that good stuff. They have at thehumidor.com. Type in sports, then at checkout, you get 20% off. If you get any order over $150, it's free. It's the only place that's acceptable to buy cigars in America outside of Goodfellas Cigar Lounge, where we present our show 3 days a week, and we do plenty of live stuff here, all kinds of good things going on. We weren't gonna have a show today, but my life kind of changed. I've been traveling constantly, and I got even more. Luckily, though, you ever had an experience where you're like, damn, I look at how much I gotta go, and I got hope something gets canceled, but that happened, but I'm still busy. And even though the things that got canceled would have been dope, one of my favorite cigar lines is Padron, and their family's based out of Miami. They're Seminole family, and I got a connect that was gonna hook me up with them, but hopefully we'll do it at another date. And then I still have I gotta go to Tallahassee on Monday for some NIL stuff. Shout out to Isaiah Land. Isaiah Land staying at FAMU. I get an opportunity to work with that young man and a couple other Florida A&M athletes, as well as my Micanopy 1851 crew that we're going to be, dropping some information soon on those things. But we got to go finalize some deals. I mean, this NIL thing is, again, it's still polarizing. Still, people have tons of opinions, right, wrong, or indifferent. I think there's a lot of people having some good opinions on both sides. I think the bad part in all of this that gets lost is we wouldn't have this issue if athletes were just paid and under contract. You can just pay athletes and put them on a contract, and then there'll be a loyalty. Just put them on a 3-year with a 4-year option. Actually, you can even just expand the eligibility to 5 years. And you can have schools literally be able to opt 4th year and 5th year, with the only way that you can actually, move forward is if you go to the NFL. And a lot of people want to say then they'll be employees, then they'll be subject to blah, 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 blah. Bullshit. Bottom line is money is money. You want to hold somebody to a contract. You want to hold them accountable. Hold them accountable. Grant and aid is not a contract because any student can get grant and aid. I don't really understand the overall issue with that part, but I do understand guys like the wide receiver from out of Pittsburgh, the Biletnikoff winner, who is, looking at LA, looking at Texas, looking at some big time, looking at Alabama, looking at some big time schools when, he could just stay. He has the Rooneys right there in the back pocket, which is one of the first families of the NFL. But we'll get into some other NIL shenanigans and things that are going on that I find highly ironic, but that's not how I want to start the show off. How I want to start the show off is, we're based out of Jacksonville, Florida. De facto a Jaguar show, but we talk about all things in the NFL. So before I get into college stuff, I want to talk about the Jags draft again, some of the pickups, and just some NFL news and notes that really have come and then segue into what's going on with some of my thoughts again. Because name, image, and likeness, I hate talking about it so much, but it is the most prevalent topic in sports right now. It's the most polarizing topic in sports right now. And then there's some other things that have happened that are just really, really funny. And I want to have a dialogue and I want to have conversation about what equality is, what equity is, and what men and women really, really want. But the Jacksonville Jaguars made some moves in free agency. They made some draft. They made some big. I think the draft. The more I chew on the draft was actually a really, really, really good draft. I still don't trust Ben Balky any further than I could throw Goodfellas, but I still think that it wasn't a bad draft. My whole thing on Trayvon Walker wasn't that he's not a good player. It's just where he got drafted at. I think Devin Lloyd is an excellent pick. I think the Muma guy, the linebacker from Wyoming, another good pick. I think the offensive, the center that we got from Kentucky. I think those are 4 solid guys that will contribute to this team right away and probably end up being pretty good ball players if they're used properly in the system. But what I don't like is how the media will go over and above what's necessary to like try to get you to like who they like. And what I mean by that is, you know, a workout is a workout. Like there's not very much you can like really go in and just say, all right, this guy looked like, oh my God, he's a beast. He's a specimen. I got news for you. We talk about the percentages of athletes that go to the NFL. So the 2% of all athletes go to college. And then the 2% of the 2% go on to play pro. If I have such a thin line of guys that are actually going pro, you know what you're probably going to have? Some genetic freaks, some genetic specimens, like really, really good looking athletes that can move. There was a workout, and I can't think of the name of the company. Rise and Grind is the name of the company out of Orange Park. Shout out to that guy, for the owner. Shout out for putting on the workout. Shout out for videotaping and putting in content. I'm sure he's really, really good at what he does on his job. But it was really just a workout of nothing but movement. Nothing functional to football. It was just a cool video. And sometimes as a former trainer, sometimes you just picture shit that make it cool. Like the little salsa cha-cha slide dances that they be doing with the footwork drills. That shit ain't got nothing to do with football. But the shit looks cool. I'm willing to admit that. It looks really, really cool. But it's shitty drills. It doesn't help you in the grand scheme of things. But like what we're looking at with these Jaguar guys is they're like, oh my God, he's so much better than that Miles Jack. Oh, we've never seen anything like this before. He is such an athlete. And they're putting up advanced statistics that are saying the white boy Mamuma is a better athlete than Lloyd and how we just got more athletic here, blah, blah, blah. When the reality is none of this shit, we don't even know if this shit translates. You know how I know Devin Lloyd's a good athlete? I watched film on Devin Lloyd. That's how I know Devin Lloyd's a good athlete. Period. That's all you need. You don't really need to see these workouts and all this other shit that they got going on. But that's not even the most egregious thing. The most egregious thing, and I gotta pull this up because it is a doozy. A doozy. My man Jordan DeLugo, great beat writer for the Jacksonville Jaguars, does really good work. He said it. This was his tweet yesterday. Almost 24 hours ago. I was, right before I went to go play in the lacrosse game that we ended up getting our asses whooped. He said it on Duval Daily yesterday. I think Christian Kirk is being massively underrated from a skill set standpoint, as some of the discourse around him is toxic. Dude has speed, quickness, route running, and hands. A three-level threat who can take the top off, 75% catch radius. So I have nothing to beef with what he said, right? For the most part. It's just the last sentence in the first paragraph. And only half of it. You could think Christian Kirk is underrated. You can be right with he has speed, quickness, and route running, and I guess his hands are pretty good. You can also state that a lot of other things. He was a third wide receiver in Arizona. He's never been a number one. He is the size of a high school wide receiver. Like he doesn't have he's not a 6'3" guy. He's not super huge. He's not super big. But here's what I mean by when I say guys are going over the top, right? I think he's massively underrated. Like massively underrated? Like, okay, I'm gonna go with that. Just chew on that for a second. And some of the discourse around him is toxic. Okay. And he has another thing. Entering his prime after an efficient and productive year and an impressive couple of years in Arizona overall, I think the vitriol surrounding his contract is a joke, and he's in for a great couple of years. Okay. Here's what the truth is. In the last 2 years, because the NFL stands for not for long, it's a what have you done for me lately league. The last 2 years, he's had 1,500 yards and 11 touchdowns. If I said that in one season, I would say, yo, that deserves to be the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. But that was the last 2 seasons. He's had 75 catches. So 75, 1,500, 11 is great for a season. 75, 1,500, 11 is just average for 2 seasons. It's not a number one wide receiver. It doesn't garner top pay. It's not massively underrated. It's what your stats are. Now, what do I have to compare that to? Okay. What if I told you we had a receiver right here on the Jaguars currently that had 71 catches in the last 2 years? He's had 1,200 yards in the last 2 years. Would you say that guy is being massively underrated? That guy is not getting a fair shake. That guy is not, like, nobody's talking about him the way that they should talk about him. That guy's name is Laviska Shenault, a.k.a. the Black Russian per our network. One who everybody in the beat has written off as somebody that we need to move beyond. Yet you have paid a guy the high at the time. You literally reset the market on wide receiver pay for a guy with 4 more catches and only 300 more yards in the last 2 years. No, massively underrated is what, if this is the number one wide receiver and this is who you feel is being the discourse is toxic surrounding, then what the fuck is it for Laviska Shenault? And that's not me co-signing or standing or simping for Laviska Shenault. That's just me stating that per the stats. And here's the thing. Laviska has had a rookie quarterback, actually 2 rookie quarterbacks, if I remember correctly. No, Minshew was in his third year. Was in his second year when he got, because they tanked for him. But in his first year, it was a tank season that he balled out pretty decently with Gardner Minshew and had 5 touchdowns. And then his next year, it was the Urban Meyer debacle with the rookie quarterback that was running for his life. And yes, he had some drops and things like that. But if you go ask Arizona Cardinal fans, they'll talk about his drops too. 75% catch radius means he's caught 75. That means he's dropped 25% of 75 catches. That's not a lot. It's not very good. I just want to, again, it's not so much that it's toxic, is that it's the fucking facts. Somewhere, what year was it? Was it when 4-5 got elected when he said things were fake news, but it was the facts? Like, what year did we stop looking at the facts? And when people stated the facts, that people started saying, like, yo, like, that's being mean or toxic. Like, I'm not saying that he can't be good. Nobody's dismissing that. Anything can happen in the NFL. But you get paid based on your production of what you have done and a projection. The difference between Kirk and Laviska Shenault is that Kirk was in year 5. Laviska's only played 2 years. He's still learning the position. And yet you're bringing in a guy to be that guy to elevate the room. You did get better. Let's not act like we went from the 32nd room to a top 10 room. We went from the 32nd room to maybe the 28th. This is why people wanted to see a wide receiver get drafted. This is why people wanted to see a tight end get drafted. This is why people are making the connections and having the discussions that they are having, because it's still not that great. What we did was we put air freshener in a bathroom that somebody took a massive shit in, and we sprayed it. And yes, it smells a little bit better, but it would smell better if they flushed it and sprayed it. But we haven't done those things. And again, it's not a knock or an attack on a guy who I think is incredibly talented. I just think that we have to stop trying to convince everybody. I think I said this on a couple shows ago. If your girl is fine, we all can recognize it. Beyonce walks into a room. Jay-Z doesn't have to tell me that Beyonce is fine. Rihanna with her grown woman weight, I didn't like her so much when she first started, but when she got that grown woman weight, and real dudes know what I mean when you get that grown woman weight. Like, there was scrawny, like Maya, the singer Maya, looks phenomenal now. She got that grown woman weight on her. Get a little thighs, you know, stuff like that. But you don't have to convince me about those people. You know, even like I'm looking at this Johnny Depp situation with Amber Heard. You ain't got to convince me that Amber Heard is attractive. You got to convince me that she's not psychotic, but you ain't got to convince me that I can see the attraction. But if you got to convince me that your old lady is fine, you know what? I'm not telling you that she's not fine to you. And I'm not telling you that she's not pretty. I'm just saying that that's to you. Like, you don't have to convince people when it's apparent. And what you guys are doing with the draft, what you're doing with all of this stuff is you're making the same mistakes that you have made since I have been in media. Like, you literally overvalue and overhype when you do not have to do that. All you have to do is be straight. It's like the song. I don't care about the mother girls. Just be straight with me. Ooh, it's a song. Doom, 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 doom. Like, that's what you got to do. Like, again, just present the facts. Devin Lloyd workout video. Like, we just did it with the sports then. It got a lot of views and a lot of connects. I did it on my personal page. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm a little jealous at Miles because Miles posted it on the Sports Den page on IG, which has nowhere near the amount of followers that I have, and it immediately got over 5,000 views. Mine is struggling to get over 2,000. Like, I don't know what happens, but whatever. But it was a post of Luke Cromenhawk, who trains with Denny with 6 points, who's an FSU commitment quarterback. I did not say that this is the greatest quarterback workout ever. I didn't say he has a live on. I don't know what the fuck I'm looking at when it comes to that. Denny said that this was good. It was cool. We put a little compilation together, posted it on our social media. People have a lot of comments and a lot of dialogue on it, but I don't know how to answer those things. I just presented the video evidence. And you make of it what you want to make of it. The Devin Lloyd thing, that's all you need to do. It's great because you know what you could have written about? How great it is that he got drafted, immediately moved to Jacksonville, and found a local trainer to work with. And nothing else needed to be said. That is a great thing. That speaks to his character. That speaks to how much he wants to get better. Because most guys are training with people that they have a personal relationship back in their hometown. But he wants to get here, get acclimated to the weather, get used to everything going on, and like become a pillar in the community. That's the story. Not that he could do shuffles and chop his feet and swim move on trash cans. If that impresses you, you come with me to Mandarin High School. I got a bunch of kids that could do that shit. They look way better. It's not knocking Devin Lloyd. It's just saying, stop. All you're doing is setting yourself up to be disappointed in the fall. Like, what happens is if you expect nothing and something great happens, you'll be joyous. But if you expect the world and you get the same fucking results that you've got in the last decade, you're going to be crushed. Think how great 2017 was when none of us expected any of that to happen. Let 2017 happen naturally.
You're telling the fans to be pessimistic.
No, don't be pessimistic. Just be realist. Like, you don't stop writing fluff shit.
Temper the expectations.
Yeah, just say, yo, it's dope he's here. Yo, I like Christian. Here's the art. Actually, you know what? I'm going to, if Jordan DeLugo was James Coleman, I said it on Sports Den yesterday. I think Christian Kirk's going to be good this year. Dude, I think he's gonna exceed the expectations. Dude has speed, quickness, route running, and hands. He could be a 3-level threat that takes the top off. Now, I didn't attack anybody in that. I didn't say you were toxic. I didn't make assumptions that he's massively underrated when you can go look at his stats and say that he's being evaluated right where he's supposed to be at by everybody except for the Jaguars. It's literally the same tweet, but it doesn't set you up for the quote tweets later on in life when he drops 5 balls in a game. Because there's so many other things that have to be factored into that. Like, we have to make sure that Trevor's not seeing ghosts. Because a lot of guys who write about this stuff have never been hit before. And I got news for you. It doesn't really hurt, but it does. Like, I don't know, that doesn't make any sense. But like in the course of the game, you're not really feeling it. But like there are hits that happen and you're human. It's like Trevor is a quarterback, so he's in a situation where he's in a vulnerable position to get like the shit hit out of him a lot. So like if that starts happening to you early and often in the game, you start seeing ghosts and you start doing what we call throwing Hennessy bottles, meaning your ball is drunk. That bitch is just wobbly. It's all over the place. You have no idea where that ball is going. And everybody says it's a wide receiver's job to catch it, and you're 100% right. But man, it is hard to track a ball that is wobbly, that looks like it's left Cinco de Mayo after last call. But that's just again a little Jaguar talk. Going into something that I think has really, really been not discussed enough, and I think because a lot of people don't know how this works, how this world works. So you have the NFL draft, right? And everybody's excited about it. Nothing better than being picked, right? But really that last day, like after once you get past the 5th round, I got news. Like, it'd be better off if you didn't get picked. Like you get to pick where you want to go in the best situations. Like, because the contracts aren't really that much different. But the only thing is you are guaranteed to be through camp for the most part. Like you'll at least make it to July's first training camp cut, which gives you a little couple dollars. I don't know what the per diem is now, but I know when I played, it was like $1,000, $2,000 a week for the per diem when you were here. But there's a lot of guys from the local universities that got picked up by franchises. And two things stood out on Wednesday when the contracts came out. And they weren't really good, in my opinion. Well, one of them was great. One of them wasn't. One of them is a case for why you could go to an HBCU and ball out, or go to a smaller school and ball out, and everything works out for you. Another is a case for why you should stay the hell where you're at in the first place, or you should just have somebody better negotiate your contract. So a Florida State wide receiver, I won't say his name, he signed a 3-year, $2.6 million contract. That sounds really good. Everybody has to sign a contract anyway to be able to work out, practice. Like, you got to sign your life away. But, oh, my bad, excuse me. That's the good contract. I apologize. He signed a 3-year, I'll round it up, $2.6 million contract. And he has absolutely no signing bonus. There's a thing that if you listen to me and Denny talk about, or anybody talk about with sports, it's called the dead cap. That means that's your guaranteed money. That means if they release you, they are on the hook for this. If you sign a contract with no dead cap, you might as well go get your CDO. Like, it ain't going to work out for you, bro. Like, you have to be Julio Jones to be able to get on that team. And that's not me being mean to you. You got a chip in the chair. But what that means, the team has absolutely no money invested into you. So, like, there's no reason for them they're like, just looking at this contract, and this particular guy signed with the Carolina Panthers, I believe. They don't think they're just kicking the tires on you. They really don't believe they have a future with you. Now, this other contract, 3-year, $2.6 million, $15,000 signing bonus, $215,000 is guaranteed at signing, meaning he has a dead cap of this 2022 season of $215,000. The likelihood of him making the team is exponentially greater than that of the guy who I just talked about. Now, this guy is Marquise Bell, who was one of the best players in all of FCS, went to Florida A&M. And he didn't get drafted. A lot of people thought he was going to be a 3rd to 5th round draft grade. Now, there were some things that people BS, if you ask me. But one thing they can do in the NFL, they will find whatever the bad shit is, and they will use it against you. So this is why I always tell guys, like, you got to make sure your character is impeccable. And if the fight is, and you better make sure a lot of that shit's worth it. Then he calls it the Turd Talent Index. And I don't think this kid's a turd, but that's what they're kind of measuring. Like, you got to be really fucking good if you got some kind of, like, if you got some major marks on you, which I think a lot of this with this particular kid was BS, but that is a lot of the reason why he didn't get picked when he did. But he got picked by Jerry Jones with the Dallas Cowboys. And he's getting $250,000. So that means that they believe that he is an integral piece. Like, they would have drafted him if the chips fell differently. So, like, you're another guy, Josh Corbin from Florida State, transferred from Texas A&M, was a starting running back the last 2 years. He got picked up by the New York Giants, got a $10,000 signing bonus and $100,000 in guarantees for this season. Again, that kind of means that he's going to get an opportunity to be able to make that roster, and that's really what you need. Once you make it and you learn like what it takes to be an NFL player, you have a really good shot at getting to what the average career is, the 2 to 3 years. It's just tough getting put on. And again, you want them to have some money, some kind of money invested into you. And I think, a lot of that is where a lot of people kind of fall off. But I think a lot of this is why, a lot of the Marquise Bell stuff and a lot of things are why guys like Isaiah Land were like, hey, I need to go check my talents, because he was the defensive player of the year at all of FCS. So that's a huge, huge honor. But you could get drafted from anywhere. And I think next year is going to be a marquee year for HBCUs. I think FAMU, South Carolina State, and Jackson State University will have a significant amount of guys that will be drafted, and it will turn heads. And what they're doing with name, image, and likeness will also be able to help even the playing field in terms of getting top recruits, because there are those who bitch about it, and there are those who are actually being active and doing things about it. So you can bitch all day, but the NCAA may crumble, but the name, image, and likeness is here to stay, baby. Name, image, and likeness is here to fucking stay. Get over it. And I say this with the utmost respect to a lot of people who are really, really upset about all of this. But I really also don't care. Like, guys like Greg Sankey, who is the SEC commissioner and the commissioner of the Pac-12, joining forces to go up against young men to try to petition the NCAA to do something is so fucking hilarious to me. It's like, what is capitalism today? What is the American dream? What is entrepreneurship? What is business? Like, when is it okay to put terms like socialism, and when is it okay to like be upfront and truthful? Because what I mean by this is everybody keeps talking about this name, image, and likeness has to get under control. But nobody's ever spoke about how the television contracts are out of control. Right now, the Big Ten just negotiated a contract that's going to get them close to $1 billion a year. They're going to be able to split that over all their member institutions. That is a clear unfair advantage. Clear. The SEC is about half of that, but we'll negotiate for more. The ACC is getting like 20 to 25 per school. So really what we got going on is that it's okay. But why is it okay for them, though? How are they getting this revenue? What are they leveraging and negotiating? The student athlete. So they're collectively negotiating and leveraging the chattel that have no interest in the contract negotiations. That's okay. We don't need congressional oversight. We don't need those. Sky's the limit. Keep pushing the envelope. Make more money. Build more massive facilities. Nick Saban, build a cathedral for the church of football, if you will. But the little colored kid from Podunk, Alabama, who family ain't got a pot to piss in, nor a window to throw it out of, who just so happens to be gifted, and you can make $55 million a year off of that kid. But that kid making $55,000 is where we need to draw the line. We need to draw the line because now the billionaires that normally negotiate TV contracts with you can now individually negotiate with the kid. You hear yourself? Like, are you writing down what you're saying? Are you paying attention to what you're teaching people? Or at least can you look in the mirror and admit that you're being hypocritical? You conference leaders allow coaches to get paid damn near $10 million a year with the rules of amateurism. What other sport pays people that much fucking money to coach people who don't get paid? Now you want to have caps? Show some good faith. Curb your college spending. Curb the TV contracts. Or put it in a pot where everybody gets it evenly distributed. Then more people will jump on your side. But what it looks like is you want to participate in the great thing that the United States is, the thing that we've been taught since elementary school. That this is a capitalistic society that if you work hard and you do the right thing, that you can make as much money as you possibly want. But it is what a lot of us have said and a lot of us have bitched about, is that only pertains to certain people. You only want, and I'm not even talking about black and white. I'm talking about elite versus lower class. That shit only works for the elite and the few lower class people that they let rise through the ranks. Because if it was a true capitalistic society, none of you would be fixing your fucking thin lips to talk about this bullshit. You would encourage it. But what it is you sit back and you look at it, and it's like, I could not go past being a junior on JV. So I don't want the elite athlete to do that. Or my child did not have the opportunities that these guys had. Or what's worse is you fucking old heads that are sitting back acting like you didn't take agent money if you were good. That won't sit back, that because you can't get paid, you're sitting here thinking like, damn, I couldn't get paid, you can't get paid. I look at it as a situation like this. If we could get this shit figured out, I got an 8-year-old and a 3-year-old that I think are really fucking talented. And they may not be talented enough to be able to go to the NFL, but I got an 8-year-old that is very well spoken, very photogenic, and loves the fucking camera. He should be able to be compensated for having a YouTube channel and still be able to play the sport of football if he wants to. I got a 3-year-old that might want to box and play football. He should be able to be the heavyweight champion in the world if he wants to, and play football and make money off of his purses. It's a lot of things, a lot of nuance. See, and I get it. A lot of you people don't understand nuance and don't understand that when you make a true hardline law, it fucks up the ability to be able to have nuance. So like we just saw Roe v. Wade get overturned, and I'm not going to go down that road, but if they can overturn that shit, man, the sky's the limit on other shit that they can overturn. So miss me with your Christianity shit. That means Dred Scott can be overturned. Brown versus Board of Education can be overturned. A lot of other things can be overturned. And you know what? I'm willing to admit this. Though I do believe we still live in a racist society, because and I think that's kind of natural when it comes to stuff. People fear what they don't understand and hate what they can't conquer. But a lot of it is more internalized hate. It is more elitism than it is that I'm going to probably make enough money to where I'll be okay. My family will be okay. It's actually you, white person, that thinks that you're better than somebody else, and you, black person, that thinks because you're in church and you pray to an invisible savior that you're going to be okay. And it's not. You're not. Because there's a lot of things that are tied into that you didn't even read the fine print, that you didn't even know. Like Texas over here talking about fucking not funding public school education because they saw that got overturned. So now it's going to make poor people. Tennessee got pedophiles wanting to fucking marry and groom little children because they're not having that. But I'm going through all this is that because when you actually create the nuance, you don't realize that most of these guys don't own their name. You don't own your name. I don't own my name from Florida State. Technically, anything that I show using the number 36 in that tribal pattern in garnet and gold, I can technically be sued for. And it's me. That's the wild part. When I reshare, like the funny thing, I can put on my YouTube channel my touchdown against the University of Miami, and I can't be compensated because Florida State owns the rights to that, to my work. I did the mat drills. I did the lifting. I did the stuff. I'm the one who's probably going to get CTE for running right into Leon Williams, and you can hear the fucking thud. To this day, I can't get compensated for that. Why? I did the work. I just happen to wear gang colors of Florida State. Nothing more, nothing less. But I did the work. The nuances with this, you can create opportunities to make money in a bunch of different levels. And yes, there will always be people who make more. That's capitalism. It doesn't mean you should stop the kid who has an amazing story, who may just want to do, who has great following on IG, great following on TikTok. Why can't they get checks? It's because you're afraid of some billionaire, and then let the chips fall where they may. Like I saw one kid's got a and congratulations, because that's cool as shit. I ain't even gonna lie, I ain't gonna hate. Miami's quarterback Van Dyke has a BMW deal. Bijan Robinson, a Texas running back, I think he just transferred from somewhere else. He's got a Lamborghini dealership deal. I think those are cool. I got news for you. You're literally locked down for like 18 hours a day, almost, when you're in college. Like, where the fuck you gonna drive the Lambo? And do you know how much an oil change for a Lambo costs? Do you know how much gas costs for a Lambo? Do you know how much insurance costs for a Lambo? Like, if you ain't covering all that shit for me, you can keep it. I'd rather just have the money. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just, even with the BMWs, you can't go to the shade treatment. You can't go to the 15-minute oil change with a BMW. I can go to it with my F-150, though. That's 93 petrol, man. 93 petrol about $5 right now. Like, it's cool. And so for what? A $850 a month lease? I'd rather just have the $850 and just go get me a charger. That's kind of cool anyway. So, I mean, a lot of this stuff is more cool for us as the adults because we're living the rap fantasy that we never got a chance to do. But I have friends who have these whips. And, you know, I've heard T-Pain talk about how much it costs to change the oil in a Bugatti and all these other things. And you know what it made me not want? It made me not want a Bugatti. Not to ever want a Bugatti. No beef. It's just too much money. Now, again, so the theme of today's show, I don't even know, maybe I have the title of that. Is like, what do we want? What is it really? What is America really about? A shocking story came out yesterday about a basketball legend. I don't even want to just call her a WNBA legend because I think that's like belittling what she's accomplished. And, you know, she's amazing. And it's Cynthia Cooper Dyke. She's been suspended indefinitely. And she's a great coach, great basketball player. But here's what she's been suspended for. And again, I'm going to say things that have happened to me in college as a man. I'm going to discuss things I'm going to read this too and discuss them as a parent. And I would love for true dialogue to happen in the comments. Like, don't fucking Kevin Samuels me. You know, and we'll talk about that in a little bit too. But again, there are things that I don't understand about women as a man. And I'm big enough to talk about that. In this situation, I kind of get, but I don't. But we're going to read through it. Former players are accusing women's basketball coach Cynthia Cooper Dyke of making sexual and degrading comments toward them, as well as endangering their physical and mental well-being. Per the Athletics, Chantel Jennings and Dana O'Neill. Cooper Dyke made an inappropriate to one player while she was doing squats. Now, brace yourself. Telling the player, "Ooh, your hips are big and you got a fat ass, and I can tell you like to ride some dick.
Whoa.
She also reportedly shamed one player for her weight, and the player was so upset that she stopped eating in front of Cooper Dykes. The allegations span over at least a decade of Cooper Dykes' collegiate coaching career when at UNC Wilmington, where she coached from 2010 to 2012, she is said to have talked about her and players' sex lives. In her first stint with the Tigers in 12, the coach got on her knees and pretended to perform fellatio, which is head, on a male assistant in front of players. I mean, anyways, okay, whatever. She also told a girl who was struggling that all she need ain't nothing wrong with her, but she just needs some dick. And she was a virgin as well. And she said, like, she's playing, like, I said, so first I'm going to speak as a guy. And I actually had a conversation with a potential female employee for some of the NIL stuff. I've had these conversations with some of my friends who are journalists. I don't know how. One thing I do know is I know I've seen a female group chat text before. And you know what I decided I never wanted to see again? A female group chat text. That shit is terrifying. The things that y'all actually talk about behind closed doors is way worse than men. Y'all are some of the most misogynistic motherfuckers on this planet. Talk about size shaming. Talk about men size shame you. I've seen the dicks that y'all put in them motherfuckers. Y'all size shame the fuck out of men. If a man is fat, a man is broke, a man is all these things. All the things that y'all say y'all hate people to do to you, you do. I don't like so, but you say you want equality as a male in a locker room who's coached, who still coaches, who's been coached. Now, I will say this. It would be weird if I was doing squats and Coach Bowden came up behind me and got arrested dead and said something like that. But we've heard over-sexualized, like sexual connotations when you're in a group of people that you feel comfortable with. I've heard Coach Andrews, again, and a lot of you guys love him, and I love him too. I want to put that out there. Coach Andrews, now I will say this before I go into it. Coach Andrews and Coach Bowden, Coach Billy Sexton, my position coach, a lot of Coach Campbell, my high school coach, Coach Nixon, a lot of these men made sure that I understood what our relationship was off the field. They did a phenomenal job of making sure I knew that I was cared about. Now, I will say from what I'm reading, it seems like Coach Dykes probably didn't have that rapport. And you got to know who you can joke with and who you can't joke with. But I've heard coaches say the best part of you was dripping down your mama's leg. I've heard coaches say, I wish I knew your dad 18 years ago and I'd have gave him 50 cents for the condom. I've heard coaches say, son, you're such a great guy. I'd let you date my daughter. Now, that sounds like it's a compliment, right? But it's not. I can promise you it's not. Any coach, a coach is not letting his best player that's a beast date his daughter because he knows. If they say that, he's basically saying you're sorry as shit and you wouldn't harm a fly. That's basically what the coach is saying. I've had strength coaches tell me or tell guys, and I've repeated it before, that, I can tell you ain't getting none yet because you ain't getting your hips all the way through. And you ain't damn it, and if you are, your girl is miserable. These are sexual connotation things that happen in the men's locker room. Like, we never thought anything of it. Like, I didn't think my coach wanted to sleep with me or see me have sex. I just thought that they were, going through what the stuff is. And I think, we talk about sex in the locker room a lot. It does make some people uncomfortable, but they go away. Like, and then you're also with football, you're talking about 120 people on a team, 130 sometimes. 85 scholarships, but you have more walk-ons because you need the depth because of the injuries and the violent nature. Basketball, you're talking about 15 players max with four to six coaches. So, like, it's a more intimate group. So, like, I can see how some of those things would stand out. I can also see, like, how you probably wouldn't want to hear that shit from your coach. But, like, I personally don't. I have thick skin though, so I don't see how that would bother someone. But I can't tell you how to feel and how not to feel. But what I can say is, if that's the stuff that shakes you, what's going to happen when you're in a crowded environment in a hostile territory? Because a lot of people fail to realize that that's really the thing with football. Like, if I can't take a coach yelling at me whose job is to get me to put in the best position, how am I going to go play at the University of Florida when the fans are literally right on top of you and they've done their research on you and they're saying way worse shit about your mama? They got pictures of, like, there's times when guys have had pictures of their girlfriends, or they DM the girlfriends, and they've saw, like, they flirted with the girl, they had interactions. Like, it doesn't make, I'm not saying those things are right, but what I'm saying is those things happen. You have to be mentally fucking tough to play at this level and really just compete in life. And what if you did have a fat ass and good hips? Like, is that like, do women like not, like, what if she was just like, I know you ain't getting no dick. I know you can't ride no, I thought being able to ride dick would be a compliment. Like, if my coach, like, so I just talked about this a few shows ago. I think I've talked about it numerous times, but it's kind of uncomfortable, but it's also kind of like, it's the black stereotype, so it makes you feel good. So, like, every time we get with our lacrosse coaches, the coaches talk about how at the parent meeting, I wore gray sweatpants. And they were like, James, that shit was like, boom, it was right there in fucking 3D. Like, it almost poked our eye out. It's like, did you not understand why all the moms were asking you about personal training at their house and stuff like that? And I was like, no, I didn't. I was just wearing pants. I was just being comfortable. But, like, that shit happens. Like when it happens, like, and I guess it's also the difference between men and women. I always objectify me, baby. Objectify the fuck out of me. It feels great. Like, I don't get objectified enough as a dad with a dad bod and all this stuff. Like, I put skies out, thighs out yesterday, and I got some good feedback. And you know what it did? It made me feel great. I'm sorry. Like, I don't know. Again, I guess with the cat calls and all, I've been cat called before by women. I've actually been grabbed and groped in a fucking club here in Jacksonville when I wasn't supposed to be in that club because it was grown folks and I wasn't quite grown folks' age yet. I got stuck in. But I don't know, man. I don't know what y'all want. I guess that's my point. Like, that happens with men. And we're raised and we're taught, you got to just go. Now, I will say the only person, I didn't read that originally. Like, now the girl who suffered from the mental, like the eating disorder part, that's fucked up. But I do know, coaches have, but it happens with football too. So one of the first things that happened to me at Florida State, I never ate breakfast and they needed me to gain. They wanted me to be 255 by my sophomore year. I came in at college at like 215. So I had to eat every meal. I skipped breakfast because I wasn't used to eating breakfast except for on weekends. My coach ran me 5 stadiums. I didn't miss breakfast since. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, I didn't have an eating disorder, but I got punished for not eating. I heard coaches tell a guy that we got to break you down all the way to 185 and then build you all the way back up. This man was 350 pounds.
They were gonna kill him.
Basically, yeah. They were like, now, granted, the guy ended up not being asked to come back a senior year. He lost a ton of weight, looked phenomenal, like looked great. But it's just like, this is sport, and some of it, like, if we're gonna be equal, then we got to be equal, or understand that you want equity and that you do want to be. And I think that's because again, to quote, if the battlefield is even, you did a shitty job of planning the battlefield. I don't want equality. I want equity. I want the opportunity to be able to earn as much as I fucking want. And I want to be able to leverage my strengths. The problem is that when it's beneficial, women sometimes, and men do too, women go to the femininity part and you rely on the misogynistic culture that places you guys on a pedestal. But then when you don't get the results that you want, or the money or the prestige or the fame or all these other things, you say we're in a misogynistic culture and it's wrong, and you place this weight on having equality. When the reality is, this is fucking equality. Male coaches talk to players worse. It's not a male coach. Now, I will say this. Where it would be sexist and it would be weird is if a male coach went behind his female athlete and she was doing the squat and said, I bet you could ride some dick. That's weird. That's wild. That's sexual harassment. But it's a woman to woman. Now, unless you want to have some real conversations.
Yeah, there is that.
Now we want to open up, but you don't want to open up that conversation because that conversation really starts to shatter some of these norms that really the most misogynistic, the most aggressive motherfuckers are consonants. Go listen to the Young M.A. song. I love that song. Ooh. But I had to step back and realize that a man didn't write that shit. That was a woman that wrote that. I still don't know how she knows what it feels like to get deep-throated. It doesn't make sense. It's plastic. You boil your penis on the stove. Anyways, whatever, man. Again, I'm not knocking you. I'm just saying that at a certain, and then just, again, I had gay teammates, but I ain't never have to worry about a gay teammate hitting on me or trying to date me. There's times when the whole locker room gets destroyed because women athletes dating women athletes. I'm just saying, like, let's have a good discussion on that in the comments, or you can hit me up, inbox me. I'm dead serious. I want to know. I asked a lot of questions. I do know people say a lot of times that in this society, you can't talk to athletes like that. And I say, why the fuck can't you? Like, what's wrong? Like, we're creating a softer environment. And to quote Coach Bowden, he always said this: it's not the kids that are changing, it's the adults that are changing. The kids are the exact same. We have just allowed them to get away with things. There was another guy that I wrote about. It's just people approaching coaches for not even really berating kids, just raising their voice. It's tough, man. I don't know how people want sports to be played, and maybe sports ain't for everybody. And I think that's really where people got to kind of come to the conclusion. Speaking of that, they just passed a law in one state where basically gay guys male, you can't be a transgender male and compete in women's sports, which again, I don't care. It doesn't affect my sons.
It's not our fight.
It's not my fight. Yeah, and I mean,
I'm sorry.
Like they're still sorry. Like that's the problem. Is like they're ass. So like if my daughter participated in sports, she would be participating in sprints or athletic shit. Like we're not doing long distance stuff. And yes, there is an advantage when it comes to that. But like if a woman wants, I have trained my boys this way. If a woman wants to come over and play football, when we're in that rectangle, everybody, that's equality for you, baby. Everybody getting their soul taken, their soul snatched. Ain't no, like, if you go watch, my son kind of went viral. The person's ankles that he broke at the end of it was a girl. We don't see male or female. We see enemy. We see op. That's what we see. So again, I don't know what you guys want. Sorry, I don't have an answer for you on that. But I will say that the Cooper Dice thing is still kind of wild to me.
No, it is. Yeah.
It's just again, because like it's like I care. I don't get it, but at the same time, I'm like, yo, how would I feel if somebody just came up behind me and was just like, man, I bet you'd be fucking the shit out of your old lady or something like that. Like, I would just be like, yeah. Oh, actually, I did feel weird. I had a coach at Ponte Vedra that I coached. We were at a coaches convention. We were eating and everything, and we were talking about swingers. And he was like, he wouldn't mind it, but he's like, but the problem is, like, you got to have the inverse. It's like, now your wife got to get some. He's like, how you going to be over here paying attention to what you got going on when you got to do? And he said this, I quote, he said, you got to do it over here built like James, fucking the shit out of your wife. And I'm like, so there was another black coach that was there. There were other male coaches, but I'm like, why the fuck you point me out, bro? Out of all the coaches, why am I the one that you fear slaughtering your wife? I don't want your wife. But,
I think it is equality, though. The fact that you look at the Cooper Dyke situation and you're unfazed because you look at her as in the sports realm. You're not looking at her as a woman, whereas most of the audience, they're looking at her as a woman and not giving her the equality and respect of being a creepy old man coach like any other coach.
But the thing is that y'all talk like that.
Yeah.
Like that's what I don't that's what I don't get.
It's the lie. We can't admit it.
It's like y'all are sexual. You want it. You like it. You love gray sweatpants. You look at print. We've seen the freaky sipping paints where you out there giving head. We've seen the videos of y'all at mail reviews. We've seen all of this shit. I don't understand why what do you benefit?
Tell the truth.
Like, what is it? Why? Why are you like this? Why do we have to the world would be so much easier. We wouldn't need Kevin Samuels if people would just say what the fuck they meant. It was consistent. God rest the dead on him. And the only thing I'm going to say about him is
someone said R.I.P. Kevin Samuels well before you.
The only thing I'm going to say with that is if you don't like Kevin Samuels, why are you listening to him? You can mute the Twitter and IG. They have a mute function. You can literally mute his name. You don't ever have to see it. Everybody who's forming an opinion, I guarantee you, they've never watched a full episode. The man doesn't start off berating women. He starts off having a conversation. And then after going, and this is what women do sometimes, and I hate it. I hate repeating myself. I hate going round and round in circles. That frustrates me. Now, he's a better wordsmith. And so what he does is he gets right to the point. You've got people who think that we've told we talk about Patrice O'Neal's scale. Instead of going 0 to 10, goes 0 to 30. But everybody believes that they're a 10, and that's your right to believe you're a 10, as I talked about with the Jags. You can believe that you're a 10. You don't dictate your worth. The market does. And maybe you're a 6. That means you're above average. What the fuck is wrong with being above average? What you don't want to be is a 3. That's bad. 6 is cool. 10 is meaning that everywhere you go, you have dropping beauty. I think I'm a handsome dude. I'm also willing to admit that Idris Elba is a handsome man. I get it. You got to choose between me and Idris. I'm not even going to be upset with you for choosing Idris. I think the whole premise behind everything that he was saying, and he's actually had people who accepted the advice before he had to go into it, that it was a completely cool show. It just doesn't go viral because controversy and polarizing goes viral. You should see how he talks to the men. He told one guy who was in college he made $1,500 a month. He was fat. He said, well, at least you have a big dick. And the guy was like, no, I don't. No, he was like, I don't know. What do you mean? He's like, come on, bro. You know if you got a big dick or not. He's like, come on, you being silly. So I'm assuming you don't. He literally chopped him down. But you know what? That guy needed it. I don't mean and I guess sometimes the people don't want to hear that part, but we all have friends who are blind. They're either nose blind, blind. They think that there's something that they're not. And is it hurtful sometimes to hear the truth? Yeah. But how are you going to grow? The reality is if more of us would tell the truth to our friends in love, we wouldn't need these things. You got, come on, girl I talked to at one point in my life said she wanted to get remarried, right? She had 1, 2, 3. She had been married 3 times already. She had 4 kids by 3 different men. And she wanted to have another kid. And she always talked about what she was worth. Now, I didn't know a lot of this shit. Because again, the one thing that women do, they don't give you all the crazy up front. I request give me all the crazy. I'm way more accepting than most people are. Like, if you tell me you crazy as fuck, I'm going to believe you. But at least if I know what the crazy as fuck is, I know if I can deal with it or not. But a lot of women try to hide that shit. Not just women. Men do that shit too. I get it. I'm with you. But, she was just like, I deserve this. I deserve that. And I'm not a Kevin Samuels type guy. The only thing I tell women is that you're right. You deserve everything that you say you deserve, that you want. You have a right to want all those things. That is your opinion. The problem is other people reserve the right to have their opinion too. And I reserve the right to have whatever the fuck it is that I want as well. Doesn't mean I'm going to get it. But with all that being said, death is nothing to play with. I wish death on really, really bad people that I have a personal gripe with. Like, to be honest with you, that man died fucking. So, like, honest to God's truth, I almost died of COVID. If you had to give me two options of how I'm going to die, give me fucking over COVID. Like, all day. But I'm not going to go berate people unless there's a personal gripe because I don't know this man. I don't know if he's a good dude. I could agree with you that he does some shit over the top. I don't like a lot of this shit. I don't know if the motherfucker's a good dude. I don't know him. But I also don't care enough to go over here and tap dance and like try to say he's dope. Well,
I'm so late. I thought y'all were joking.
No, he's dead.
He's dead.
He died of a heart attack.
Oh shit.
Fuck, on one night stand, fucking somebody.
That's kind of like ironic, isn't it?
No, it is. It is. Now, a lot of women like, how he gonna tell us that we're gonna die of high cholesterol, and then he died of a heart attack. Which it's a lot of people in great shape that die of heart attacks. Yeah. So like, it doesn't really matter about a lot of this shit. Like, the crazy thing is with all of the stuff with Kevin Samuels, if a lot of people were really, really being honest, right? Was he really wrong? Was he really wrong? Like, okay, you may not like the. Let's all agree with this one point. He was really wrong with the way that you saw him go about and berate the people. I will say that. But is he wrong telling a woman who's got 4 kids from 4 different men that maybe she shouldn't be trying to go to this point? Is he wrong for telling a 40-year-old woman who's trying to make a man wait for 6 months to have sex when she's got 2 kids already and we know she's been fucking? Like, that maybe you should, she's like, maybe you should be trying to do that. Maybe he didn't say it the right way, but a lot of this shit is really, a lot of the advice that people have given people, men and women, is so fucked up that it's going to mess up the next generation of kids. And what a person was doing was, maybe it was too direct, but was going around basically saying, no, that's fucking wrong. I don't know. But I do know this, man. I don't spend a lot of time on shit that I don't give a fuck about. And if I really hate somebody, I'm not finna go around and just keep talking about the person that I hate. It's real easy. I mean, I think at the end of the day, all he was saying is not lower your standards, adjust them.
Yeah. I mean, you say it to men all the time. We don't even have to be told at a certain point.
Right. I think a lot of times, like, to be honest with you, it's funny because I see people who hate him but love Patrice O'Neal.
Wow. That's different.
Like, it's funny because Patrice O'Neal tells people all, like, Patrice O'Neal has this thing like the girl's like, you don't love me. Why should I love you? What have you done to be lovable? I have to have money. I have to have good sex. I have to be charming. I have to give you gifts. All you have to do is be. Like, I'm the one who should be loved because I'm actively doing things to be loved. And then what happens is we've removed societal norms, and I'm with you. Every person should know how to cook and clean. I'm with you on that. But what do you do? Then what is your benefit to me? I got to pay the bills, from what you're saying. Like, TK Kirkland, again, dope dude. Basically Kevin Samuels, again, it's a comedian. If I'll pay all the bills, or I'll be faithful. but I can't be both. Because what is your benefit to me? Like, I gotta pay all the bills, and you just be pretty, something pretty. And so that's cool. If I have a pretty thing to look at, if I can afford that, I'm going to have. I got my shoes. I'm going to have multiple pretty things that I want to look at. And you flourish. Be who you want to be. But then just ask yourself, like, hey, if I don't like it, then I'm paying all the goddamn bills. I will choose. Now, if there's equality and it's equity and we both pulling our weight, that's what it is. The reality is men and women don't want to work on shit. And what we've confused ourselves with is that the other side does things so much better than our side that we end up romanticizing and glorifying and wanting something that isn't even true. I got news for you. I got friends who have married white women and have dated white women, black men. They annoying as fuck too.
Oh, yeah.
Spanish women, everything they say sounds like a suggestion, but it's not. It should just sound sexy, but it's fucking, they're mean as fuck. Jamaican women, all these different women, bruh. And same thing for women with men. It ain't no different. It's just a pigmentation and maybe a little bit of seasoning. It's the only thing different. One uses Goya, the other one uses seasoned salt. I don't know what to tell you. Last couple of things that I want to get into. Brother of Clemson head football coach Dabo Swinney, accused of distributing child porn, arrested in April by South Carolina Attorney General's office. We talked about Roe v. Wade. Christians get on their pulpit, stand up. That's right. That is the sin. That is God does not want you to kill babies, but it is okay for you to molest little boys. Like y'all care about everything. Y'all pray over everything except for the people who are in control that you have direct access to. So what I mean by that is, Dabo, you need to be, instead of worrying about these players with NILs, instead of worrying about people being more like MLK, instead of worrying about people what they do with their dicks and their vaginas, keep your brother's penis out of little kids. Like, and it's not just him. I had a good friend, John Owens. Well, he was a good friend, but he's a good person. Great person, phenomenal musician. He posts on his IG this diatribe. And I'm sitting here thinking of all the churches that he's been in. There have been sex scandals. There have been ministers who have had women have abortions. There have been ministers who have played with little boys. There's been a whole bunch of other stuff. Like that, yeah, if you really care about children and these babies, make sure that these babies ain't being penetrated by older men and being molested by older women, because women do that shit too. That's really my whole gripe on all of this shit. Be all the way. Stop being hypocritical. Protect the babies and don't protect the babies. If you got poor babies coming out here, make sure them poor babies got something to take care of their ass. Because the first thing you say is, it's not my responsibility. You shouldn't have had sex. Well, motherfucker, there's a get out of jail free card for them. And if you feel like they're going to hell for killing a baby, let them account for that with God. Because I got news for some of y'all. All y'all going to end up in the same fucking place if there is a heaven or hell. The difference is you're going on accident. And as my grandmother said, hell is the worst place to go on accident. Have some beachfront property by the River of Fire. And lastly, JJ Redick gets a round of applause, man. You are my new favorite sports commentator. I hated you at Duke, but the way to get change is having allies. I am so tired. And this is why at least I ask questions. My opinion on Cooper Dykes was my opinion as a male. I want to hear the female opinion. I want to know what it's truly like. But what JJ Redick did was he checked everybody on there, because this old curmudgeon white man basically said he doesn't like Draymond Green and he doesn't like John Morant. John Morant for being too happy and dancing and celebrating. Draymond Green for being too cocky, which is the funniest shit in the world that people use to put black athletes in place. They're too cocky. What the fuck does that even mean? If you could do it, you'd be cocky too. You want everybody to be like what you perceived Michael Jordan to be, what you perceived the greats to be back in the day. Shut up and dribble. No, motherfucker, they make money now. They ain't got to worry about shutting up and dribbling no more. Fuck you. And what JJ did, which is what I wish Stephen A. Smith would do, but he's too much of a coward to do it. JJ Redick basically put that guy in the place, and that guy said, well, I know millions of fans that are older that don't like it this way. He's like, that's because they watch Fox News. He's like, I really don't care about, and this is JJ Redick is a white basketball player, played at a high level, and basically said, I don't care about them, nor do I even want them as fans. If they believe that a guy who's going to be a Hall of Famer, who works hard, who has a very successful podcast, who does a ton of stuff in the community, is arrogant. He does more than you do with more talent. And I love what he said because it's not, he doesn't appreciate the context or the tone. And boy, if we had black journalists and commentators that had the balls to say that shit, the world would be a better place. The place that I used to work for, there was only one voice that was willing to say whatever the fuck he wanted to say. But that's because he owned his own show, and that was me. Now you got rid of it. And when I listen to it sometimes, it turns my stomach to hear how they talk about my culture, which is our culture, which is American culture, because you go and you cherry pick the best parts of it. The problem is, I heard Snoop Dogg said this, it's hard for you to keep your racist context and undertones when your son's my biggest fan. What you don't like is that for the first time, you're seeing a picture on a wall of a large, dark-skinned man with his nuts in the face of probably some white guy that he's dunking on, and your son loves that. And that's what your son wants to be more like. He wants to be more like Draymond than he wants to be like you. And that's not on Draymond. That's on you, because you have failed to be a parent. Charles Barkley said it's your job to be your child's role model, not mine. But by that being said, man, Cinco de Mayo was yesterday. Hopefully a lot of y'all are recovering. Check this out. Mother's Day is Monday. Shout out Carmen. Shout out Alame. Shout out Taisha for being great mother. Shout out Jennifer for being great mothers. Hope y'all have a great day. Hope your kids get you guys something nice. My mom and my grandmother will be good. Trey and Killer will probably get their mom something good. Oh, shout out Ursula as well. I forgot about being remiss to not talk about all of the grandparents. Louisa too. I forgot to talk about that. I apologize, but make sure all the women, the mothers in your life, realize that their place. One of the craziest things in this world, even though I talked about some topics that I may or may not get backlash for, I really don't care. But I say this to my sons all the time, and I've said this to people. There's only one woman that I trust wholeheartedly, and that's my mama. That's because she's my mama. My son Trey asked me, he's like, so I told him the only woman in your life that will love you unconditionally is your mother. And then he was just like, well, he's like, so you should trust her. So do you trust your mama? Or do you trust mama? I said, I trust my mama. It's not a knock. It's just there's something that is unique about the bond and the relationship between a son and a mother. And that's why I find all of these things interesting, because they're your first teacher. They're the first nurturer. They're the people who are supposed to teach you how to treat women in this world. So women, I know you have a lot of power in your hands that you don't even realize. If you don't like the way that men are treating you in this world, I mean, it's only one person that you can really truly look at. And that's you in your relationship with your sons. But the thing that you'll find most ironic is all the things that you say you hate in men, you protect your sons and you tell them to act that same exact way. If you really get down to the fruit of it. Because you understand everything that you guys are capable of. But on that note, man, make sure you check us out. Go to thehumidor.com. Check out, damn, that should have been my Green Acres Sporting Goods. I apologize about that. My guys will make sure we make up for it. We weren't even supposed to do this show anyway. So Green Acres Sporting Goods, get your second. Matter of fact, that's the best thing to get your mother. Get your mom the Taurus 380, $199. Hand it to her. Great self-defense weapon. Like that Delta that went to Howard that Plies was talking about. That little girl got some power. Kickback, it will stop a man in his tracks. Love you guys. See y'all next week. You ready, Mom?
Yep.
All right. Yeah, that's a completely different feel. I mean, our first one went there, and then I got lazy and then went over. But then when I read,
yeah, you put most of them in there. I got 2, 4, 6. So yeah, that's pretty good shooting though, right there. We have the Taurus Spectrum that we're running right now on special. It's a 380 pistol, semi-automatic. Very lightweight gun. Comes with a 6-round magazine. We do sell a lot of holsters for these guns. This gun's so small that most people would just buy like a pocket holster, just something simple, because this is a gun that's so small you can literally just slip it in your front pocket. And it's smaller than most cell phones and lighter. Semi-automatic 380 pistol, which has got enough knockdown power to defend yourself in a situation. Basically, just slightly under a 9mm as far as caliber. So even though it looks like a small, what they call pea shooter, it is not. It's got a lot of punch, a lot of power. Definitely do the job. Florida, where you're in shorts and t-shirt, 10 months out of the year. It's a simple gun you can just throw in your pocket if you have a concealed carry permit. So it's like, just like second nature. You grab your wallet, your keys, your phone, your pistol. Still be 6 rounds, but you're gonna get more of a full, grip on it.
All right. Yeah, that's a completely different feel.
This is a Smith & Wesson M&P 15 22 caliber AR style. It's classified as a pistol because it's got the shorter barrel. We've got the collapsible brace on the back of this. Comes with a 25-round mag. Nice red dot optic. This is typically what a lot of people put on these, just something that's very quick and easy to access the sight, carry the gun on them. They 1-point sling, they run it around their neck, and the gun will kind of just hang down.
What to this gun?
Okay, what it does is, so you know how you got a rifle sling, and most traditional rifle slings, you throw it over your shoulder and you go walking. This 1-point sling allows you to have the gun always at a ready position. So you have the gun hanging, and you let it go, right? And then, so if you ever notice the guys that are like in the military, they're on patrol, they don't hold the gun up all day, right? Your arms get tired. You can let the gun kind of hang, but it's ready. If you need it, you can just throw it up. Versus having to take it off your shoulder and then re-shoulder it. Brace.
This.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because what it is essentially, it's a loophole. Like right now, you can take that gun, you can shoulder it, and you can shoot it, right? You can shoot it like a rifle. Because it's a handgun, it's meant to be fired without your shoulder. It's meant to be held out like this. And the arm brace, by design, is supposed to be strapped to your arm, so you just use it to brace your arm, but nobody uses them like that. Everybody uses it like a stock. So when you shoot it, you're shooting it like a rifle, even though it's a pistol. So technically, right now you're legal to do it, but if they change that law, we're not going to be able to sell these braces. There you go. Cannot sell this one in the store, but we can sell you the Glock 17.
All right, we can put that on there.
Almost just as fun.
Yeah. You good, Miles?
Yeah. Whoa.
That's 30 rounds.
Whoa.